this is Katie with Crafting with Katie. Today I'm going to be making a fun thank you card. I'm going to be using a variety of materials for this card. First, I have this fun Dotty Biscotti pattern paper from Paper Tray Ink, and I'm going to be using this cute turquoise pattern. I also have from Paper Tray Ink this 2008 Bitty Box Basics. I'm going to use the brown grid paper. Then I have some cork paper that I got once from Etsy. And then this is fun. This is some really thin, ultra thin cherry sheets that I found at Hobby Lobby once that works great with dies. And for my dies today, I'm using all from My Creative Time, different stars. I have the 3-star stitch dies, and I'm going to be using the 2 smaller ones. From the 4x4 Journal Die and More, there's some teeny tiny ones I'll be using. And then from All Around Holidays, I'll be using this little one right here. And to give the card some more texture, I'm going to be using some felt from Paper Tray Ink in Vintage Cream and Dark Chocolate. I've gone ahead and cut out all of the stars how I want them, and I've laid them out on my piece of cardstock. And what I'm doing now is a trick I use sometimes is I take a picture with my iPhone just to have on hand. Once I remove everything from the cardstock, I can look back and see how I had it all placed. So what I'm doing now is just removing the felt pieces, and I'm going to adhere the other ones onto the cardstock and then do a little bit of sewing on top of them. So I'm using my Scotch Quick Dry adhesive, and these bigger stars that I cut with the pattern paper, for those I use the 3 stitch stars. From My Creative Time, I use the middle size star. And then this next one I'm using was the wood veneer, and that one was the smaller star from that set. And that one, the back of it is this really shiny surface, and I wasn't sure how well that would glue, but it actually adhered pretty well. And I was going to stitch on top of it too, so I wasn't too concerned. Now for the little cork one, I used the star from the All Around Holidays set. And that cork that I got from Etsy cut really well, and I've seen a lot of people use adhesive backed cork from Hobby Lobby, which I've heard works really well with the dies as well. So when I run out of my Etsy cork, I'll probably give that a try. I'm using this My Creative Time stamp set called Thank You Hugs for my sentiment for this card. And since I haven't used this particular sentiment before, I'm going to test it out on a piece of scratch paper first. And I like to do this first just to make sure that, kind of to season it a little bit, make sure it stamps nicely before I use it on the actual cardstock. Especially if I'm using my actual card like I am here that I've already adhered things down. I don't want to make a mistake. So I'm using Paper Tray Ink's Dark Chocolate ink. And I'm just making sure it looks nice, which it does. So now I'm just going to put it in the corner here. And that looks great. I've gone ahead and done a little bit of stitching with my sewing machine, just kind of pulling my stars together. And then what I'm going to do now is stitch together these 2 felt stars using some embroidery floss. I have a big collection of embroidery floss because I used to do cross stitch. So when you use embroidery floss, it has 6 different strands pulled together, and I like to use just 2 at a time. So I'm going to pull 2 apart and then just set aside the other 4 for another time. Unfortunately, what you won't see in this video is my actual sewing because the battery in my camera died and it didn't have time to write to the memory card. But all I did was a simple X stitch, which you'll see in the final card in just a moment. Now that I've got all of my different parts to this card, I'm just putting it all together. I've created an A2 size cream card base. So I'm putting my main Aqua Mist piece on top of that. So you can see that's all ready to go. And now you can see the little felt stars stitched together. They're just a little cross stitch right in the middle. So now I've got my phone picture so I can see just where I wanted the little felt stars. So I'm just placing them right where they were on the card, see where they are going to go. And then I find the best way to adhere felt to my cards is using hot glue. So I'm going to pull out my glue gun here and get these glued on, and that makes them stick really well. So I'm getting a pretty good glob on the big star. And then for the teeny tiny ones, the best way to do it, I found, is to actually put the glue right onto the paper, and then put the stars on top of that just to save your fingers. I got a really bad burn with a glue gun, my first bad glue gun burn over Christmas, and actually I wasn't even doing paper crafting. I was helping my little nieces and nephews do a holiday project, and I glued right onto my fingers. Very painful. So you see that little teeny one, but the nice thing about with the hot glue, even if you get little strings of it onto your card, they come right off and it doesn't seem to leave a mark, luckily. So I got that one off, and then I just have this little one here. Again, a big strand, but I was able to get that off too. Okay, so the last thing to do is just go ahead, and I already had scored it, so just use my bone folder and crease that. And there is the finished card. So thanks so much for watching, and please come by and visit my blog, craftingwithkatie.com.